So Ben, finishing the first quarter of the year, how's it looking in financial services?
Do you know what? It's been a very positive start. I look back at last year. So if you look at 2023, we made, albeit it was a challenging year, we made the most amount of CPO number one regional lead roles across the FS market than we have done in previous years. And I think where we've really benefited from in Q1 of this year is essentially from the businesses that we work with, where the CPO has come in and looked to restructure and hire their respective teams. So we've been inundated with some fantastic opportunities, that sort of number two level role. I would say that's been where the volume has been in certainly Q1. Encouragingly, we've seen a few more roles come back into play within talent acquisition. Okay. And I think the sort of evolution of what we've seen as a sort of overarching sort of talent sort of hire leaning into the development space as well has been definitely on the radar. So if I look at the overall performance of the first quarter, we probably been not as busy at the number one hire, as mentioned. I think that's down to the fact that we made a significant amount of movement in that space and facilitated some great moves at the end of 2023. But we are very much anticipating, because we are now announcements paid into people's bank accounts through the bonus period, that Q2 is traditionally done, it will open up the senior end of the market. So we're feeling very positive with the start we've had. If I take another step back and look at where we're performing as an overarching financial service business, so leaning into some of our specialist teams that still are very much front and center in FS, reward, payroll, and our interim practice, we're actually 10% up on revenue year on year. So actually, there's an incredible amount to be positive on. It's still very fragmented. I think everyone would kind of echo that across the market. But what we've done really, really well is being really proactive and certainly sort of got some great benefit from being out there and living and breathing the market as we like to do. So yes, a good overall result.
And you're obviously very plugged into the international market from a financial services perspective. What are you seeing in terms of the feed into London at the moment, particularly from the US markets, etc.? So what are some of the themes in hiring and demands in that market?
Yeah, I think we traditionally we've had lots coming out of the US, and I know it has been a more of a challenging space for certainly the market from an FS perspective from the start of the year, but that has definitely sort of picked up with some really good introductions coming into the private equity space. We've had some good hedge fund opportunity. We're working a lot closer with our colleagues in the US team, and that's been an area that we really think is going to be a further opportunity to develop this year. And I think that's been encouraging to see early on. We've done a lot of work again with our European partners. So again, that's good to see. There's good crossover coming through. I think private equity is an area that is definitely the one that we kind of referenced, I think, when we were on this couch last year, talking about private equity as a sector. We're starting to see a lot more coming out of that space. I met with two private equity CPOs earlier on in the quarter, and both of them said over the whole 12-month period last year, their respective deal teams were very, very, very quiet. There's been more activity and movement in Q1 of this year than there was in the entire 12-month period from last. So I think once that market opens up, and we know that private equity has a massive presence in our US offering, we're really getting behind sectors that we feel will really kind of grow, and I guess the timing needs to be right from our standpoint.
And interesting, this year we've seen a lot of collaboration with our European offices, so Germany, the Netherlands, around hires organisations are looking to make, and they're kind of open to locations. So how's that worked in terms of how the teams in London have partnered with our European offices, and what do you get a sense of kind of talent in that space?
Yeah, well, I think it's a really good question, because I think one of the selling points which we've always said is that we have a global platform and a global team, and I think more and more evidence of that for clients to see the benefit of how we work has been evident so far this year, where we're partnering with our team in the Netherlands or in Germany, where essentially the search or the role could be based in either jurisdiction. We had a really sort of good senior business partner, head of type role for a climate investment business who were looking for a hire to be based in Frankfurt or London. So we did a dual search in a respective region and delivered a very strong shortlist. And in the end, they did make the hire in London, but they did want that individual potentially to be based in Germany. So I think more and more clients are really benefiting from our agility and our global sort of platform that we can offer. And again, we're seeing more and more. We said it before, haven't we? That the world has got smaller.
Yes.
So global talent could be based in a sort of a number of different locations, not only in the domestic region, but actually internationally. So I think one of the great things we've been doing this year and obviously last was to really push our global offering. And I think more and more businesses are really seeing the opportunity and how we can partner with them in that regard.
And I know you've really pushed, our network driven approach in financial services and fresh off the back of a CPO breakfast a couple of weeks ago. What were the themes coming out of that session with, your network and senior people working across kind of the boutique FS market?
Yeah, well, again, the CPO Breakfast Group, it's a very proud moment, actually. It's its 10-year anniversary this year. So it's something that we're very proud of, and we've grown. Started off actually as four people, and over the 10-year period, we've had close to 800 attendees that have joined us. I mean, the themes are, I'll be honest, they're not groundbreaking, sort of reinventing the wheel. It's very much around the boutique market. So there are still a long way to go for some of these businesses in things like D&I. And actually, the attendees are kind of looking for creative ways to come up with different ways of tackling some of these issues. I think with DEI as a particular example, where businesses are sort of getting probably good sort of leverage is the fact that now the investment teams are seeing this as absolutely critical to ultimately get further investment from external organisations and external investors. So we are seeing a lot more of that commercial appetite within businesses to really kind of get behind areas like D&I. There's been a huge amount of challenge around still attracting people to the sector. There was a window after the pandemic where because everyone was working flexibly, it opened up the doors for different sectors to perhaps consider financial services. So we saw a lot more interest coming out of talent that might be working in more creative sectors. The challenge, I think, where we are faced now is that the financial service market, certainly in London, are all creeping back in more than back into the office more. So it feels like, and one of the topics that we discussed, it feels like there's been a bit of a missed opportunity where you could still try and create a bit more diversity of hire going after different sectors, not traditionally continuing to go down the same route. So that's a bit of a shame, but that was again one of the topics that we covered off there. There's a big push on things like artificial intelligence that seems to really be taking the market by storm, but how it impacts recruitment and actually looking at things around identifying the sort of advantage of using AI for recruiting, but also how you're developing your staff. So almost looking at, are there common themes that artificial intelligence can create to help people with their career and put them on the right track. So there were some interesting things that we threw around the table, but we had 18 CPOs coming out of a range of small boutique FS businesses. And it was a really, really strong event. And so that was the first one we had for this year. Similarly, we ran a similar event for our talent acquisition community. And that was really encouraging because that was a group that we traditionally had a TA group that we were running for a number of years. That group did drop off in the last couple. I think the pandemic meant that we probably didn't see after the surge of hiring that much going on in the TA space. So we had a really good session with a number of TA leaders and a huge amount of kind of interest around things like ESG and EVP, actually how businesses are attracting the right individuals and what it's so competitive now to get good people into the organisation that the employee value proposition is probably at the top priority in the TA space as well. So that was really, really encouraging to see. And then the final one, we've run this, we've been very, very busy, as you can tell. Final one was our senior business partner group, which again, we're very conscious within Frazer Jones that networking shouldn't just be for the most senior people in the market.
Absolutely.
So we run a number of groups for what we'd say the individuals that aspire to be CPOs of the future. And personally, the feedback I've had from the market is that it's been an invaluable exercise and forum for individuals that are looking to build their stakeholder experiences, to be able to converse with their peers. And actually, you shouldn't just get to the point when you're a senior in a senior position to then be invited to that type of forum. And actually, we've been using some of the feedback to feed that back to our respective clients to help with development, to help with educating on gaps where people need to improve on. So yeah, it's been a really successful kind of quarter for networking. And as you know, Nick, we get an incredible amount of work through the referral scheme.
Yes.
So the being out there relevant in the market is one thing from a recruitment perspective, but actually really pushing the communities, the networking, the value add, for me over the period of time I've been with the firm has been absolutely invaluable, and we're going to continue to, I'm sure, see the benefit from that.
Okay. And kind of finally, what are your kind of predictions for the rest of the year? What do you think the year's going to play out?
Well, I think given we've had a solid start, which I think I would have taken if we've been sitting back here sort of 3 months ago, I think it should hopefully improve with certain areas of the market still to really come online. As I mentioned, the senior market end of the market is starting to pick up a bit more, which I think will add to our success that we will have. So I see it as a steady recovery year with hopefully a spike or two to give us that enthusiasm and positivity going into the end of the year with really hopefully a big bounce back in 2025. So I think it's going to be a strong, solid year for us, but a year that we need to be absolutely out there proactively networking, as I've mentioned, positively speaking to the audience and market. And I think where we're getting success supports that narrative. And the team that we have at the moment, I'd say, is the strongest financial service business we've had, and I think that is there's no coincidence that we've had such a strong start based on the people that we have within the business now.
Absolutely.